everybody, Trevor here. As promised, my next top 5 video will be about video games I think deserve a full-on remake. Now, there is a difference between a full-on remake and an HD remaster. Remasters are just re-releases of previous games but with HD graphics, as well as fixing certain gameplay mechanics and stuff. Full-on remakes, on the other hand, are actual remakes of older games but with updated computer graphics, voice acting, gameplay, etc. And like HD remasters, they also fix some of the problems that the previous incarnations have. Now, for this list, I will only be including those that came out either during my childhood or teenage years. I will also include those that are most likely going to be remade either in the near future or sometime in the distant future. However, I won't be including any games that are rated M for mature, such as previous Assassin's Creed titles, as well as those from the Grand Theft Auto library, which I'm not really a fan of because I don't like crime. Now, with those things out of the way, let's begin this epic and action-packed top 5, shall we? Number 5. Final Fantasy VI. This is a Final Fantasy game that was released on the Super Nintendo back in the 1990s, and this was made long before Final Fantasy VII came out on the PS1 during that decade. The reason I want this to be remade is because I wanted to give it an honest chance, but with updated computer graphics, voice acting, and even an orchestrated version of the game's soundtrack. I mean, I would love to hear a remastered version of Dancing Mad, but with orchestrated music. However, the reason this game is so low on the list is because I never played any of the Final Fantasy games as a kid because I wasn't in the targeted demographic at the time. The second reason is that I don't know too much about Final Fantasy lore in general because I was more focused on Kingdom Hearts stuff. But from what I've heard, Final Fantasy VI is a pretty good game with interesting characters, including Kefka, the main antagonist, as well as its overall story. I mean, if you want more information about Final Fantasy VI, just watch some reviews on it, including James Roll's take on it. Trust me, they're worth your time if you want to get into some of the Final Fantasy games. Coming at number 4 are Froggers 1 and 2 from the PlayStation 1 era. I've talked about these games in my top 5 favorite gaming franchises video, and I'll try to keep them brief here. As frustrating and challenging as these games are, I think they're some of my favorite video games from the PlayStation 1 era, and I would kill for full-on remakes of them, but with updated computer graphics and a remastered soundtrack for each of them. And I'm wondering if we'll get to hear some updated voice acting, including Swampy the Crocodile, whom I'm assuming was originally voiced by Jim Cummings in the original game. Also, I haven't seen a brand new Frogger game since the 3DS version, which unfortunately was a failure. But still, here's hoping that someone will revive Frogger sometime in the future, just for modern audiences, as well as for the sake of nostalgia. Coming at number 3 are Destroy All Humans 3 and 4. You may not know this, but I also love the Destroy All Humans franchise because it reminds me of Invader Zim, but with a mature twist. Oh, and speaking of Invader Zim, did you know that Richard Horvitz also voiced Proxy in this franchise? Learn something new every day, am I right? Unfortunately, I didn't add this to my top 5 favorite gaming franchises video because I didn't think of it at the time, not even as an honorable mention. Man, if only I didn't forget. These are the third and fourth installments, and they take place during the 1970s, when disco was common. We also get to see some new characters in the story, including a few alien allies like the Master. Unfortunately, I put these as number 3 not only because I didn't add them as honorable mentions in one of my old top 5 videos, but also because the fourth game, Path of the Furon, was going to be released in America on the PS3, but it never happened due to developmental issues. At least the PS3 fans from the UK get to play it along with the other Xbox users from around the world. Man, I'm jealous. Another reason I put them as number 3 is just so I can get an honest chance to play them, but with updated computer graphics and stuff. That way, I won't have to buy an Xbox, a Nintendo Wii, or import a PAL release of the PS3 version from the UK because those cost a ton of money. So overall, even though I never got a chance to play Destroy All Humans 3 and 4, I'm pretty sure THQ Nordic will remake both of them on a more modern console like the PlayStation 5, since they've already released the first 2 remakes on the PS4. Number 2. Crash Twinsanity. If you've seen my thoughts on a possible remake of Kingdom Hearts 1, I've hinted that this would be one of the classic PS2 games I think deserves a full-on remake, but without the glitches, plot holes, and other problems. When it comes to the PlayStation 2 era of the Crash Bandicoot franchise, this will be my most favorite of the bunch, mainly because of the epic soundtrack, as well as the interesting story where Crash and Cortex team up to fight against the evil twins, just to save the world once more. Also, in my opinion, Crash Twinsanity is a huge improvement over Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex in terms of gameplay, story, and graphics, even though I've never played Wrath of Cortex in my entire life, but that's okay. I also like some of the new characters, including Nina Cortex, who was Dr. Cortex's niece, as well as the evil twins themselves named Victor and Moritz, who were originally Dr. Neo Cortex's pets before they were sent to the 10th dimension. However, like the other Crash Bandicoot games on the PS2, the game does have its own problems, including glitches, plot holes, outdated computer graphics, and gameplay elements here and there. So that's why I think this game needs a full-on remake, but with a more modern twist to it, like having Coco and Tom Bandicoot more involved, unlike in the previous incarnation. And if they are gonna do that, then I think this Twinsanity remake should take place after the events of Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, which is miles better than The Wrath of Cortex in terms of original story and graphics. Sure, it does have tedious gameplay, but still, the graphics are pretty good, and I didn't mind the redesigns in that one. So, in conclusion, I would honestly kill for a remake of Crash Twinsanity. Then they could retitle it as Crash Bandicoot 5 Twinsanity, or something like that. That way, I can relive my early teenage years, and that younger generations can get a chance to play it. Before I get to number one, I just want to give at least one honorable mention. Yoshi's Story. I don't think this game needs a remake because we already have Yoshi's Crafted World on the Nintendo Switch. And the number one spot is a three-way tie. Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, Recoded, and Union Cross / Dark Road as playable games. I'm sure some of you guys knew these were coming. The biggest reason why I think these deserve full-on playable remakes is just so that way kids of this generation can have a chance of experiencing the titles as well as their respective gameplay elements. I mean, I'm sure some of them would love to play as Roxas, Shion, and Axel in 358 or 2 days, as well as Data Sora in Recoded. They also won't have to buy an old Nintendo DS system for 358 or 2 days and Recoded, which were only re-released as HD movies in the HD remasters due to timing constraints, and to get working on Kingdom Hearts 3 as soon as possible. As for Union Cross and Dark Road, it's no longer on the App Store, unfortunately, so I think sometime in the distant future, they should remake it as a playable game either on the PlayStation consoles, or better yet, on the Nintendo Switch. They could even do the same thing with the other two games in this number one spot. And maybe, just maybe, they could even give it the same treatment as Missing Link in terms of customizing your own avatar with brand new features, as well as retitling the Union Cross remake as Reunion Cross. Wouldn't that be awesome? And furthermore, they could even make Dark Road as a short DLC episode like they did with Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. But let's hope it won't be a gacha game like Missing Link because I don't want to deal with microtransactions ever again. Now let me know in the comment section below on which video games you think deserve to be remade. Do you agree with my list, or do you have your own personal preference? This is Trevor Davis signing off, and I hope you all have a happy Halloween this year.